The Meta Quest Pro definitely came as a surprise to those of us waiting for the Quest 3. And at $1,500, you'd have to be pretty damn sure that this thing is going to be worth it. Yes, there are more cameras, better tracking, better controllers, and a faster overall processor in the Pro headset. But after owning this headset for a few weeks now, there have been a few issues that I've come across. So here are 5 reasons why I don't think that you should buy the Meta Quest Pro. And it's not just that it's expensive. Problem 1 is that the headset isn't actually as comfortable as the Quest 2. With the new head strap, the weight is put almost entirely on the top of your head here, which means that after a while this thing can give you a bit of a headache, and it leaves a very, very unsightly red mark on your head, which can take a bit of a while to go away depending on how long you've worn it for. It also doesn't look like you'll ever be able to change the head strap because of the design like you could on the previous generation. The design here I think is just all enclosed throughout, and the wires going through from the battery pack at the back through to the glasses at the front. So unfortunately that is a no-go. Problem number 2 is the battery life. Now you get between 1 to 2 hours on this thing, and again, since there's no option of customizing the strap, you don't even get many options to, mount a battery pack to extend it, which is fine if you're sat at a desk because you can just, of course, wire this thing into the mains or a USB power bank if you need to. But if you just, splash the cash to have higher quality VR gaming experiences, then this could be pretty problematic. Which then brings me to problem number 3. This thing is not good for fast-paced games. Now, whilst it is manageable in games like Beat Saber, try something a bit more strenuous like a boxing game or Fit XR, and you'll find the Quest Pro becomes very uncomfortable as it just does this wobbling thing as your head, as you're kind of swinging side to side and doing the things. And also, as you might notice, if the headset slips down on your head, then when you're doing that, it starts really bashing your nose and becomes a quite painful problem, which isn't the best. And yes, of course, you can use the included light blockers and headphones to try and immerse yourself in the game more, but it's definitely a trade-off between having a good quality visual experience and having this headset rub you in all the wrong places.
That's what she said.
By the way, if any of this has been useful or entertaining so far, please do consider subscribing using the button down below this video. Like the video also, and perhaps share it with your friends, as it really does help support smaller channels like mine to be seen by more people. Problem number 4 comes in 2 parts. Now, firstly, the volume buttons on this thing are so thin and recessed into the headset that they are pretty much damn near impossible to find if you need to, quickly turn down the volume to hear someone speaking to you. And secondly, the recommended fit on the Quest Pro, so that it can track your eye and the facial movement, including your eyebrows and your mouth, means that it has to sit much higher on your head than any other kind of Quest or any other VR headset that I've worn before. So every time I put the headset in a position that feels more comfortable to me in terms of viewing, the headset just tells me to run the fit test again, which then means I have to move the headset up on my head. And it also means that for all the time you're using this headset in your natural position, you're actually looking up into the eyepieces, which feels really unnatural. But the problem with that is that when you do use it as it's intended for meetings and things like that, then your AI avatar is going to constantly have something I've nicknamed DES, droopy eye syndrome, which can only really be fixed by then looking down. So your eyes are open, which then just feels even more uncomfortable than staring at the sky. It just doesn't seem to fit properly. And then lastly, of course, the elephant in the room, of course, is the price. Now at $1,500, this wouldn't be an issue for me if this thing actually worked properly. Now for $1,500, you've been thinking, this is the pinnacle of next generation when it comes to VR, except it's not. Even though this thing literally has cameras everywhere, even on the controllers there are cameras, and as I understand from all the reviews I've seen on this is so it doesn't lose tracking. Except it still does. Multiple times I've gone to pick up my controllers and it still takes far too long of me waving them around and pressing the buttons, mashing them, trying to make it realize that I'm now using the controllers instead of my hand gestures. And then a fair few times when it has picked up the controllers, it has their placements completely off, thinking it's a foot to the left when it's actually a foot to the right instead. Now, considering they have pretty powerful processors in these things, like Snapdragon chips in them, that's really not that great. Now, the same can also be said when you switch from the controllers to hand tracking. You put the controllers down and you sit here waving your hands around, trying to get the headset to realize and start tracking your hands instead. So yeah, it's just not the best. Now, yes, it is visually better, with all the quality looking sharper and the performance is a bit snappier. It just doesn't feel very, very next gen. Certainly not for $1,500. Now, would I say that you shouldn't buy one? Now, I think it depends on your use case. Now, if you're looking for something to game on, and particularly fitness games, then absolutely no. Quest 2 is still my go-to for those. But If, like me, you thought that this could be a relatively cheap way to upgrade your desk setup to a gigantic virtual screen in the metaverse, combined with some semi-social working, then check out my video up here on how that experiment of mine went, and I'll see you there.